Yay, we're live.
Hello again.
I'm getting a face. Hi, baby. Why don't you come up here?
Come here, baby. Come here, Yuna.
Come
No, I don't want to be on camera.
on, baby girl. Everybody wants to see you.
We're conflicted.
Come on, baby. There we go. Come on. Come on, you can have the leg back. We're being a cat.
Yep. Well, as you do.
Yeah. Chris is getting logged in so we can communicate.
Yeah, work in progress.
We're a few minutes early. No, I do not want the script to have a keyboard access. There we go.
Okay.
Almost there.
Almost there.
Yes, your brother's running circles around you now.
So hope that y'all have been well over these last 2 weeks. We've been well. We had the
Don't need to short that off.
there was birthday bash,
Yep.
of course.
This was lovely.
Yep, birthday bash at Poe's birthday bash down at the Poe Museum. That was 9 days ago now,
Yes.
but a lot of fun there.
Upcoming this weekend, we have Paracon.
Yes,
Hanover Tavern.
Hanover Tavern Paracon, and this past Saturday we had our Ghosts of the John Marshall House special event. So,
And we actually had something happen right before the tour started. We had a paranormal activity. We actually were all down in the gift shop chatting with 2 of our customers that had arrived, and Brad all of a sudden went, "Stop," shh," and he heard 3 distinct steps above our heads, and nobody was up there. And then when he and I went up to investigate, the door, double door that's between the entrance parlor and the back parlor area actually started to close. And that's not something that is easily done. You really have to move that door. So we're like, oh, this is going to be a fun start to the tour.
yep. But good times were had by y'all.
Yes.
So happy Monday, Alex.
Monday.
Glad to have you here. And so yeah, Paracon coming up this weekend. Friday night, we're part of the Friday Night Fright event. We'll be there telling some stories.
6 degrees of Patrick Henry.
Yes, so I don't know what the ticket situation is for that, but we will be gracing the stage there at Hanover
Yeah,
Tavern.
because it actually sold out in the original spot where we normally had it, so we made the decision to move the event to the theater.
Yep.
So we could sell more tickets.
Yep. Yeah, because wonderful fundraising event for Hanover Tavern. So hopefully you can come see us there. If not on Friday night, we will be there all day on Saturday as well, and then sticking around for the paranormal investigation that evening.
He will be.
I will be. Which
I
actually
have to work the next morning.
But turns out we will not be leading a group this year. No, but there's enough like true, like I guess you could say, dyed in the wool paranormal investigation groups that are going to be there to let the people,
investigation happen.
Yeah,
So
we will be there hanging out, helping out. I will be, and but yeah, then we'll be there again all day on Saturday as well with our vendor table and just hanging out and chatting with people. So hopefully you can come see us this next weekend.
yes.
Now, so with that, we are going to go ahead. We're going to kind of circle back to a topic that we touched on about a month ago.
We did the south.
Yeah, we did the
Going
south.
north.
We're talking very, very cold places. So about a month ago, we did the Haunted Antarctic. Really cool episode. Had a lot of fun with that one.
Now we want to go on a cruise.
Yeah. Now, we are going to turn our attention to the other end of the globe. We are going all the way up north to the Arctic.
Now the Arctic is a much bigger location.
It comprises more countries and
So
whatnot.
we're talking Norway, we're talking Russia, we're talking Alaska,
Canada,
we're talking Canada,
Greenland. So
those are all in the Arctic.
so we'll be bouncing around. We got a few different countries we'll be featuring rather than just the Antarctic continent that we had a month ago. So, but yeah, all some nice chilly stories for what is ironically a pretty nice warm up today compared to where we were last week.
And we're going to be 60 degrees on Wednesday.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So anyways, glad to have you with us. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Happy to answer them to the best of our ability, at least. But for our first stop.
Yes, we're going to go to the Canadian wilderness, and this is a place where stories linger that carried on by the howling wind, the frozen in the icy rivers. Our tale begins in the early 1800s amidst the rugged terrain of our fur trading posts in the shadow of the Arctic exploration. We first have Alexander Black Mackenzie. He was born in 1828 at Fort William, Lake Superior, to Angelique Mollett, an Ojibwe woman, and Robert Mackenzie, a chief trader with the Hudson Bay Company. Alex's upbringing isn't far from what you would call conventional here. His older siblings received the polished educations in faraway Montreal, but Alex grew up in a remote outpost at Ile à la Crosse, which is basically nobody had formal schooling. Nobody could afford it.
It was the wilderness.
Yeah. So instead, his father taught him what he could. So it was a mix of practical survival skills, history lessons that came with a strong bias towards the Mackenzie family. And of course, the family accomplishments. After all, Alex's cousin was none other than Sir Alexander Mackenzie, the Arctic explorer who traced the Great Mackenzie River to the Arctic Ocean decades earlier. A lot of family pride going into those lessons. Anyway, by the age of 18, Alex is ready to forge his own path, and he joined the Hudson Bay Company as an apprentice clerk and began his career in the icy wilderness of the Mackenzie River District. Over the years, Alex became part of an intricate web of traders, explorers, and indigenous communities that defined life in the fur trade. But it's not just the fur business or the biting cold that shaped his story. There's also Christina Bell, a woman whose life was as dramatic as the landscape that they called home. Christina was born in 1829 at Fort Good Hope, housed in the deep in the Arctic frontier. Like Alex, she came from a noble lineage of traders and explorers. But her life took a tragic turn when her first husband, Augustus Piers, died in 1853 under mysterious circumstances at Fort McPherson. In the wake of Piers' death, Alex Mackenzie would be transferred to Fort McPherson to fill the vacancy left behind. It just so happened that Alex would also partially fill the hole that the widow Christina's heart had had. And this became a lifelong relationship with the boss's daughter. Before Piers passed away, he had made it clear that he didn't want to rest eternally in the frozen ground at McPherson, but for 6 years, that's exactly where he stayed. Maybe Christina was a little distracted by her new beau. It wasn't until 1859 when Christina requested the transfer of his remains to Fort Simpson, and his wish was finally honored. That's when the story here takes a turn for the supernatural. The journey begins in the depth of winter when the chief trader Charles Philip Godot exhumes Piers' coffin from the frozen ground and prepares it for transport. The task fell to Roderick Ross McFarland, the clerk in charge of Fort Good Hope, to oversee the delivery of the remains by dog sled down the Mackenzie River. Now, transporting a body through the Arctic isn't exactly a task that anybody volunteers for, but McFarland and his crew weren't exactly given a choice. So the journey started uneventfully enough, just the usual challenges of traveling through the Arctic: freezing winds, dangerous terrain, and a constant threat of wolves. Well, one night, the crew sat around their campfire. A voice rang out from the darkness. It was clear, commanding, and entirely unexpected. The voice warned of approaching wolves, and moments later, a pack of the predators emerged from the shadows. What's more, the voice seemed to command the sled dogs to protect the coffin. And the dogs, perhaps sensing something from beyond human comprehension, obeyed. As the days wore on, the crew began to notice strange occurrences. McFarland, who slept near the coffin, reported seeing a figure floating just outside his tent. McFarland and a man who's more accustomed to tallying furs, then confronting apparitions. Well, let's just say he was frightened out of his wits. So the ghostly encounters continue, and the crew pressed on. At long last, they reached Fort Good Hope, where Piers' remains were reburied with a proper ceremony. You might think that would be the end of the story. Ghost is laid to rest. Final wishes fulfilled. No. On the return journey to Fort McPherson, McFarland awoke one night to find Piers' ghost standing over him. The apparition was not menacing. If anything, it seemed calm, almost grateful. Another crew member saw it too, and the two men, brave fur traders that they were, hid under their blankets until the morning. Call it cowardice if you would like, but no one could argue that discretion is the better part of valor when it comes to supernatural occurrences when you're out there in the wilderness. Pierce's ghost didn't appear again, and the rest of the journey passed without incident. The story has lingered ever since, passed down in hushed tones and written into the annuals of the Canadian folklore. There was a tale that McFarlane shared, appeared in more, let's say, multiple formats over the years, including a March 8th of 1865 edition of the Winnipeg Free Press, where Mary Mindless gave the story its lingering name, The Ghost That Followed the Dog Train. Some say the ghost was merely ensuring his final wishes were carried out. Others believe he was watching over the crew, grateful for their efforts. Whatever the truth is, one thing is for certain. The frozen wilderness of the North is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, sometimes quite literally. We have a comment.
A few.
A few.
I didn't realize. I was looking at the wrong screen.
Oops. I'm going to eat some oatmeal cream pie.
And this, the oatmeal cream pie from our friends down in Shockoe Bottom, down at 17th Street Market, the OMG OCPs down there on the farmer's market. This is
their Snickers. It's so good.
They're fantastic. They're all good. Mm-hmm. They are all good. It's hard to go wrong. So, but, yep. And Patrick, yeah, good to see you at Birthday Bash too. Yes, we not only got to hang out at Birthday Bash, we also got to see a lot of friendly, familiar faces, including Patrick. Mm-hmm. So, definitely very glad to be able there. And their mom is, my parents live in Rochester, New York, and apparently the wind is howling at 50 miles an hour up there. So,
oh boy,
it feels pretty Arctic in Rochester, New York right now. Stay warm.
Yeah, the Nibbling's back at college, so we're hoping that they are staying warm as well. Buddy, what are you doing?
Fortunately, they have a
toasty dorm room.
Oh, well, yes. Raven does, but my parents also have a nice, reasonably well insulated house, a couple of cats, and a gas burning fireplace. So, yes, they will
stay toasty.
Stay nice and toasty inside. But, all right, so.
Okay, so we couldn't do an Arctic exploration location without talking about zombies. Yes, I went there.
Okay. We couldn't do it without talking about zombies? What?
There's so many bodies up there, there had to be zombies.
Well, okay, yeah, that's fair. Alright. Anyway, so this next story revolves around one of the Arctic's most chilling tales, pun intended, the doomed Franklin expedition. Now, this starts back in 1845. Two state-of-the-art ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, set sail from England in search of the fabled Northwest Passage. This wasn't just an expedition, it was a mission to cement Britain's dominance on the world stage. The stakes were high, but the ships were ready. Armed with reinforced hulls, steam engines, and 3 years' worth of provisions, including the latest innovation, canned food, what could possibly go wrong?
I'm sorry.
If you've watched the TV show The Terror, you have an idea as to what could go wrong, because we're going to go there. Anyways,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, safely guess, everything goes awry. Now, the Erebus and Terror, under the command of Sir John Franklin, disappeared into the Arctic ice in September of 1845. For nearly a year and a half, the crew of 134 men poked around, charting the last unexplored stretch of the Northwest Passage. But then, the ice closed in. No one panicked at first. After all, these were British sailors, stiff upper lip and all that. When the ice refused to thaw in the summer of 1846, they likely grumbled into their rations and prepared to wait it out another winter. But by April 1848, Franklin was dead. Their camp provisions had spoiled, and the crew decided to abandon ship. Their goal? Walk 800 miles across King William Island to reach the nearest whaling station.
Not the inspiration for walking 1,000 miles.
Now, this might sound ambitious for sure, but their options were limited. First, those canned provisions weren't exactly the miracle they'd been advertised as.
Which is why I cringed.
Faulty lead soldering had tainted the food, making what hadn't spoiled outright dangerously toxic. Add to that scurvy, exhaustion, and the small detail that King William Island is essentially a bare wasteland of ice and gravel, and, well, you can start to imagine the scene. Inuit nomads who encountered the surviving crew said they didn't seem right. Stories describe these men as pale, dirty, and maddened by hunger. Some were spotted hollowing out seal carcasses for shelter. Others were found carrying hunks of human flesh. The sight would be so jarring that the Inuit people would recall the story over and over again for generations to come. Their description of these Europeans akin to that of a zombie apocalypse. Ragged figures stumbling through the snow, speaking...
Sorry, I was trying to silence that. I'm sorry.
Where was I?
Apocalypse.
All right. Descriptions of these Europeans akin to that of a zombie apocalypse. Ragged figures stumbling through the snow, speaking in a language the Inuit couldn't understand, and consuming each other in desperation. And yet, the Inuit tried to help. They left seals for the starving men, built them an igloo, and lit a fire before wisely fleeing the scene. When they returned months later, the horror had only deepened. The seals remained untouched, the igloo filled with corpses. Back in Britain, the disappearance of Franklin's expedition was front-page news. By 1848, rescue missions were launched, but it was too late. The Arctic had claimed them. For years, rumors swirled about what had happened, but the truth, cannibalism, botulism, and madness, was too much for Victorian sensibilities.
That's a lot. They can handle quite a bit.
In 1854, Scottish explorer John Rae returned from the Arctic with Inuit accounts of what had occurred. These stories were detailed, harrowing, and, most importantly, credible. But when Rae mentioned cannibalism, the British public recoiled. How could honorable men stoop to such savagery? Instead, they dismissed the Inuit as unreliable, an injustice history has since corrected. Modern analysis has confirmed that the Inuit were right all along. Human bones recovered from King William Islands showed telltale signs of butchering, marrow cracked open for sustenance. It's grim, but it's the truth. In 2014 and 2016, the wrecks of the Erebus and Terror were finally discovered, thanks largely to Inuit testimony and knowledge of the region. Their accounts have been validated time and again, something Victorian England was too proud to accept. But this isn't just a story of ice, death, and cannibalism. No, the Franklin expedition also left a lasting legacy in the world of the supernatural. Let's start with Lady Jane Franklin, Sir John's widow. Desperate for answers, she turned to a spiritualist. The 1840s were a golden age for seances, and Lady Franklin became a devoted believer. One clairvoyant, a young servant named Emma, became something of a star. Guided by trances, Emma claimed she could see Franklin alive, his sunken cheeks and all, awaiting rescue in the Arctic. Admiralty officials even attended her seances hoping for clues. Spoiler alert, Emma was wrong, but her visions captivated the nation all the same. And then there was William Copen, an Irish shipbuilder with a ghostly story of his own. Copen claimed that his deceased daughter, Wheezy, appeared to his family in the form of a glowing blue orb. When asked about Franklin, Wheezy gave a very cryptic message. Erebus and Terror, Sir John Franklin, Lancaster Sound, Prince Regent Inlet, Point Victory, Victoria Channel. Strangely enough, this spectral message led searchers to the Bellot Strait, a key Arctic waterway. While they didn't find Franklin, they were alarmingly close, perhaps closer than they realized. Why did they ask their dead daughter's ghost about Franklin?
I don't know.
That's good. I'm a little
maybe because she was in the afterworld and they figured, why not?
I guess. Seems a little odd, though. Like, oh, you're my daughter, you've returned. Hey, about this Franklin guy. Anyways.
Any news?
Anyway, so even decades later, Franklin's spirit seemed reluctant to leave the Arctic behind. In 1856, he reportedly appeared at a seance in Baltimore to share news of a tropical land beyond the Arctic Ocean, inhabited by peaceful people. A year later, he showed up in Nottingham to recount his death, allegedly at the paws of polar bears. Then there is this fun one from 1911 when Franklin's spirit settled the infamous North Pole debate. Journalist William T. Stead claimed Franklin personally told him that explorer Frederick Cook had reached the pole first, before the competing expedition led by Robert Peary. Franklin, always the gentleman, even helped guide Cook partway before leaving him to finish the journey. Ghost or not, that's dedication. Today, the Erebus and Terror rest beneath the Arctic waters, offering tantalizing clues about their final days. Inuit oral history, scientific analysis, and yes, even ghost stories have all helped piece together the mystery. But perhaps the most terrifying part of this tale is what it revealed about humanity. In the face of the Arctic's unforgiving desolation, the Franklin expedition didn't just fail, they unraveled. It's a chilling reminder that no amount of Victorian ingenuity or British resolve could conquer nature's icy grip. Dun dun dun.
Dun.
So I did watch The Terror, the TV show. Definitely a very fictional account. Tells of, makes assumptions about what actually happened while they were stuck in the ice, based partially on, of course, the history that the Inuit then relayed later on.
Yeah.
So basically, it was they wove a fictional story to fill in the gaps of the historic fact. Interesting show, little twist of the paranormal to it, and very bloody and gory affair, though. You should be warned.
Mm. This is what he watches when I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
Patrick shared the Wikipedia pages for the Erebus and Terror. Thank you for that. And those camp rations sound like what I ate my first year at summer camp.
Oh yeah. When it said the new invention of tin can, I'm like, oh God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
So what question from beyond the realm would you want answered? Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's a good one.
Alex has a wonderful propensity for asking excellent questions. I'm not sure. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I would like to know where the portal is to an alternate parallel.
Okay.
I'm in a mood today.
Yeah, Beth's been in a mood.
I am all about jumping to another multiverse today.
Beth's in a mood.
I mean, lotto numbers are right up there, but...
Yeah. I'm thinking,
Do I really want to know about one of the conspiracy theories?
Probably. I mean, I keep coming back to something like, JFK.
Yeah, it's like
that.
do I really want to know who shot JFK or some of those other conspiracy theories?
I'd have to give it some real thought.
I want the book from National Treasure too. The secret book. I want that.
Yeah. But... yeah, that probably, I hate to see, just to at least unravel at least one of those lingering conspiracy theories, if you will. But which one I would choose, up for debate. I could think on this for quite some time and go down quite the rabbit hole. Alex, I think you just laid out the rest of my night for me after we get off the air here. Anyways.
Okay, let's go to Norway.
Good question, though.
Yeah, let's go to Norway. Now, some of you might know this name, Tromsø, Norway. It is one of the most northern points in Norway. It's actually, isn't that the one where you can go without a visa?
No.
Oh, no, that's the other one.
Svalbard.
That's Svalbard.
That's the island. That's kind of it's technically part of Norway, but it's almost more of a self-governing jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
yeah, Svalbard.
All right, so we're not going there. We're going to Tromsø. And this is, again, in northern Norway. breathtaking landscapes, but it's also got a population of about 70,000 people. That was back in 2022. It is the third most populated area above the Arctic Circle. Though it's far from the oldest town in Scandinavia, the city of Tromsø is officially founded in 1838, which leaves it enough wiggle room for those trying to find a deep enough history with a darker side. Tales of ghostly encounters send shivers down your spine of the locals and, of course, the visitors. So let's start with our haunted Arctic cathedral. Yes, we're going to give you a mini ghost tour here. Our ghostly journey begins with the iconic Arctic cathedral. It's a striking structure that dominates the Tromsø skyline. The cathedral is a striking modernist landmark visible from Tromsø Sound when you are flying into the city. Because of its brilliant acoustics, many musical events are held here at the church, including its New Year's Eve performance and Midnight Sun concerts. The Tromsø Church, also known as
Iskadralen?
Thank you. The Arctic Cathedral was built in 1965. 11 aluminum-coated concrete panels, there we go, on either side of the roof provide the cathedral's bold form, often compared to the style of the Sydney Opera House. The main entrance is surrounded by a large glass facade and pronounced cross from the floor to roof. It is a beautiful, full-height stained glass window, graces the east side of the building, and that was added in 1972. Its remarkable organ added in 2005, and the style of the cathedral's bold architecture. The organ is made of 2,940 pipes.
That's a lot of pipes.
It is a lot of pipes.
Ranging anywhere from only 5 millimeters in diameter, or wait, 5 millimeters to 32 feet. And actually, that might not be diameter, it might be length. But regardless. Tiny pipes, giant pipes.
Somebody whose godfather installed organs, yeah, that's a big one. Most of the woodwork is of solid local pine, and the bellows are made out of reindeer hide.
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
it's
use what
Norway.
you got. Use what you got. The architectural marvel is not only a place of worship, but also harbors a haunting secret. Legend has it that the ghost of the former priest roams the halls, and visitors have reported hearing eerie whispers and feeling a chilling presence. Even some claim to have captured ghostly apparitions in their photographs. And is this, of course, the tormented spirit of the priest? Perhaps it's something more sinister. That one, well, guess what? It still needs to be answered.
Newer building.
Place
of worship, still very active as such.
Pretty sure they haven't had any investigations. I didn't find any,
They have a ghost tour.
They have a ghost tour, but I didn't find any, active investigation material online.
No.
No groups had written that they had investigated there.
At least not that we were able to find.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So, venturing further into the supernatural, here we have the ghostly story of a phantom ship that sails the icy waters surrounding Tromsø and that has captivated the locals for centuries. Known as the Ghost Ship of Tromsø.
Original name.
Very creative name. This spectral vessel is said to appear mysteriously on foggy nights, gliding silently through the waters. Witnesses describe the ship as an ethereal apparition with tattered sails and an eerie glow emanating from its hull. Many believe it to be a ghostly reminder of a tragic maritime disaster that occurred long ago. The haunting sight of the ghost ship continues to both mesmerize and haunt those who catch a glimpse of it.
And of course, they have a lady in white. Like so many other places, this enigmatic apparition is believed to be the spirit of a young woman seeking justice for her untimely demise. The lady in white is said to roam the deserted streets of Tromsø during the darkest hours, her spectral figure gliding silently through the snow. Witnesses have reported encountering her ethereal presence near the cemetery where she is said to be buried, and some claim that she appears to those who are lost or in need of guidance, offering some sense of comfort before vanishing into the thin air.
You can always appreciate a helpful ghost.
I do like a good helpful ghost.
Yes. The haunting legends of Tromsø extend beyond the city limits. The nearby mountains hold their own stories of supernatural occurrences. One such tale revolves around a phantom hiker who mysteriously vanished in the treacherous peaks. Locals believe that his restless spirit continues to wander the mountainside, forever searching for a way home. Hikers have reported hearing eerie footsteps and feeling an inexplicable sense of dread while venturing through the misty trails. These spine-chilling encounters serve as a reminder of the untamed and enigmatic nature of Tromsø's mountainous terrain. Tales are often told of sea trolls and wraith-like rites prowling the beaches and on the ocean shores, searching for victims in the night, and ghosts have been witnessed haunting each and every building downtown. Perhaps this is due to the fact that the city center was built on an ancient graveyard. If you want to see it for yourself, there is a tour, as we mentioned. Local historian Asgeir Johansson even hosts what is called the Tromsø Ghost Walk through the chilly city.
You can bet we will be taking it if we ever get there.
Yes. Yep. Hopefully we'll get there ourselves one day because Norway, delightful country.
Yes. We really did enjoy our taste of it, and we want to go back.
Hard to believe it's been almost 2 years now.
I know.
But,
I desperately want to go back.
But that does make me think back to Alex's question. And it might be a little bit of cheating. If I had the opportunity to speak with a spirit or something like that, it might not actually be so much the conspiracy theorist, but maybe to actually talk to a spirit, somebody who was like a historian, but a historian like almost like a full millennia ago. Or something like that.
Before the internet.
Before the internet, somebody who maybe could shed some light on what are some of, like ancient history's enduring mysteries. Somebody that maybe had a little bit more, at least closer to first-hand account, if you will. So, who exactly that will be, I'd have to think about that, because I know, obviously, the Greeks and the Romans certainly had their people, but you have the Egyptians and the Celts and all of those peoples all over the place. So definitely some choices to be had, but it'd be good to I think that, as I said, might be a little bit of cheating because it'd be more than a singular question. But to talk to somebody from a ghost from that long ago and somebody who studied even the history from that long ago, shed some more light on ancient history, if you will. I digress. That's my theory. Anyways.
Any other questions?
No.
We're still good? Okay.
I think we are. Doesn't look like any other questions have popped up in the last couple minutes.
All right, so we promised you some Russian stories. This one is more of a dark history story, but I thought it was kind of important to bring it into this.
Yeah, some people think that there might be something spooky about the place, but
again, it hasn't been investigated. I would see no reason why there wouldn't be something spooky there, considering the energies that were laid down.
Yeah.
But again, it's not something that there's been a lot of experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yes. So this is Skollenkaard Ekara Railway. This is basically a name that has become the embodiment of the Arctic wasteland in northern Siberia.
And for reference, we will henceforth refer to this as the Transpolar Mainline.
Yeah.
Much easier to pronounce. Or even just the Dead Road.
The Dead Road, yeah. So the landscape here is beautiful and unforgiving. It's generous. Still generations of people came here. Many of them were Gulag prisoners that were brought here against their own will. It was an attempt to exploit the riches that lie amid the ice. One relic that remains stretching across this region is that of the railroad line. It was a pet project of Stalin's, and it was, as we said, known as the Transpolar Mainline, or today, the Dead Road. Stalin was not a man prone to small, normal-sized plans. One of his most audacious schemes involved conquering the natural world itself. He called it his great plan for the transformation of nature. The linchpin of this endeavor was a doomed railroad cutting through the heart of the Arctic, built by prisoners of the Soviet Gulag system. Stalin conceived of an 806-mile-long rail line to run between the Siberian cities of Ekara and Skollenkaard. Between the years of 1947 and 1953, political prisoners were tasked with turning two separate projects into one massive bad idea.
Very bad idea.
Working from the banks on the River O, prisoners constructed the 501 railroads, struggled to unite their project with that of the separate team of prisoners who were actively dying as they laid rails and ties of the 503 railroad. On either side of the tracks, the wooden barracks, also built by the same prisoners that they housed, could be seen crumbling in the low brush of the tundra.
Can still be seen to this day.
Yeah. As years wore on, progress was made with ever-increasing sluggishness. Supervisors also started to realize that demand waiting on the other side for the completed railroad verged on non-existence. When word reached the camps of Stalin's death in 1953, all work on the tyrant's insane pet project was put to an end, leaving the railroad simply a straight line through a sparsely populated Arctic. Outwardly, the project's purpose was said to be one of transporting nickel between the two cities, yet more likely it seemed the true idea was laid in creating a pointless work for a large population of politically threatening individuals in order to decimate their numbers, all disguised as serving the nation. At no time in history did this massive stretch of rail connect to the rest of the Russian railway system, nor did it transport a single rail car teeming with nickel or anything else.
Yep, they went out, they laid all this track.
And nothing ever transported it.
Nope.
No accurate record of prisoner's death or injury was kept, meaning there's no way of knowing what this railroad's cost in human life was. Over time, its official name, again, has been eclipsed by the more succinct moniker, the Dead Road. Many of the abandoned, dilapidated structures still stand to this day. Some modern explorers that brave this landscape for their own purposes claim to hear tormented, ethereal screams, sounds of labor, and other ghostly activity amongst the ruins. And as we've talked about before, you have a lot of repetitive motion and that type of thing, as laying track is, that energy gets laid down, and it doesn't surprise me that there might be echoes of those memories.
Mm-hmm. So, terrifying place out there in the middle of nowhere, Siberia.
Yeah, but again, it's a part of dark history that we should not forget.
Yep. Now, this next one, we're still going to go ahead. We're going to stick to Russia for the moment. And the Soviet Union era actually starts to bleed into the dissolution of the USSR, but that's not the point of the story. So there are many Soviet accomplishments that have long been obscured in Cold War secrecy, even in the modern day. Against that cloak and dagger backdrop, it is easy for shadowy tales to grow into full-blown urban legends that launch these accomplishments into the public eye, often cast with a shade of the supernatural.
We did something we shouldn't have done. Yeah. That type of supernatural.
So it is a known fact that the Soviets succeeded in digging the world's deepest man-made hole on the Kola Peninsula, a project that went on from 1970 to 1994. The hole itself was able to breach 40,230 feet, over 7.5 miles into the Earth's crust, a depth deeper than the Marinara Trench, although such a feat also came with such a plethora of rumors.
Oops.
It is widely accepted that the project was abandoned due to a lack of funding. But there are some rumors that speculate that the drill had breached into an extremely hot cavern unexpectedly. The microphone picked up alleged screams of the damned, driving the scientists to madness. Some allege that the scientists had indeed dug all the way to hell itself. While this has been debunked many times over the years, it still makes the rounds, particularly amongst religious circles. The story of the well to hell was published and retold several times between the late 1980s and early 1990s. It appeared in a Finnish journal published by the Pentecostal Christians and a newsletter by Messianic Jews in California, amongst other religious publications, before making the jump to American tabloids and various sites on what was then the fledgling internet. Most notoriously, the Trinity Broadcasting Company ran a story on the subject, claiming it to be proof of the literal existence of hell. Despite the pushback against the well to hell story, or perhaps even because of it, it has bled into popular culture in several ways over the years. The horror movies 9 Miles Down in 2009 and The Superdeep in 2020 are both based off the legends surrounding the Kola Superdeep borehole. And English extreme metal band Cradle of Filth released their 5th EP, Evermore Darkly, in 2011, featuring songs inspired by the Well to Hell legend. For such a supposedly forbidding location, the Kola Superdeep borehole is surprisingly easy to visit, at least if you can, get into Russia. It's only a short distance across the Finnish border, and while the roads are notoriously bad, there is little else keeping people from walking right up to the capped wellhead. All that said, explore cautiously and wisely.
I just had visions from the Mummy 2 of all the red bodies coming up and grabbing from the...
Ah, yes. from the mucky liquid, whatever it was. Yes.
It's going to get you.
It is.
I don't have a brain anymore. You're not going to get much in there.
All right. So, next legend on this list can be found on the less than aptly named Greenland. The legend of the Qivittoq.
Okay, that's Qivittoq.
So Qivittoq.
There was debate this morning about how that was pronounced.
So they have a tendency to not follow their Q's with U's like we do in the English language. It's still the Q, but apparently
it's pronounced
ka. So Qivittoq. So this pertains more to multiple beings rather than a single ghost, but it is a haunting figure nonetheless. The people of Greenland claim that large, brooding, spectral figures prowl the icy tundra, hunting after people unlucky enough to cross paths with them. The Qivittoq is a frightening, often evil creature, a ghost man living in the mountains. In English, it roughly translates to mountain walker or mountain hermit. Like all good scary stories, the story of Qivittoq is rooted in truth. In days gone by, if a Greenlandic man was guilty of some crime, he could be banished. If that happened, it was basically a death sentence. No one can survive alone in Greenland. Everyone needs the support of the community, so once gone, he was effectively dead and regarded as such. These banished men could possibly survive some time, living a frightening life alone in the hills. So traveling in the hills puts one at risk of meeting a Qivittoq, who would invariably be hungry and aggressive. But Greenlanders also believe that the Qivittoq continue this way beyond their deaths, living eternally as wandering ghosts. It's not just a spooky story to tell on a dark night. To most Greenlanders, Qivittoq are as real as you or I. A man with many years' experience working in different countries and cultures told of the first time he saw a Qivittoq. Walking on the hills near his home in North Greenland, he saw human bones under a pile of rocks. Oops.
This was not so uncommon in Greenland, where people are historically buried in the wilderness, and the climate is cold and dry, so that the bones are long preserved. He had heard of this man who had been banished, Qivittoq, and had long feared meeting him. Terrified that the Qivittoq would attack, he ran home. Some Greenlanders will never walk inland, and certainly not alone, for fear of meeting one. Some have been told that they should carry special items to protect themselves: matches, a needle, and thread. These could be used to trade with the Qivittoq should they ever meet one, in hopes that it might allow them to escape unharmed. And it's not just the banished Greenlanders one should fear in the mountains. One Greenlander told us a story with its nervous laugh of ghosts who speak English, unable to understand the language, but aware that these ghostly men spoke. There we go. He told of hearing voices in the hills, voices of the long-dead American whalers. They were shipwrecked and still trying to survive their fate as they searched for rescue far from home. Over time, however, the people claim to see these banished folks somehow surviving in the tundra against all odds. The legend of the Qivittoq was made famous by a 1956 Danish film simply titled Qivittoq. It was the first Danish film to be nominated for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars.
Yeah.
There's your fun fact for the night.
I went trying to look it up. I was able, of course, find information on the movie, but nothing about where you can actually find it today.
It might be lost.
No, I don't think it's lost. But considering it was a Danish film.
Yeah, but it might be lost, like, in American.
Yes.
You have to, like, look.
Yeah, probably have to dig through some, like, go to, I don't know, like the archives or...
Yeah, in Denmark or something.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Qivittoq. Sounds like, looking at the description, it sounds like a great movie. But anyways, see if we can maybe find it one day. So, all right, next up, we have the Myling. Now, the term Myling may sound familiar, especially if you've read the works of renowned Swedish author Astrid Lindgren. If you have. In Scandinavian folklore, the Myling is a ghostly figure that reflects the dark realities of a bygone era. In the past, when unmarried mothers were shunned and stigmatized by society, many were driven to the unthinkable act of murdering their newborn children. This social ostracization and lack of support left these women with no other choice but to hide their babies, often burying them in secret locations. The Myling is said to be the ghost of these murdered, unbaptized infants, doomed to haunt the living as a result of their tragic fate. The Myling is known by various names across Scandinavia, such as Utkasting and Gast. And the most common legend surrounding the Myling is its persistent efforts to make its presence known, and the hopes of revealing the gut-wrenching actions of the mother and the location of the hidden remains. These chilling tales were often used to scare unmarried women, serving as a warning of the consequences they would face if they dared to conceal their children. The legends describe how the Myling's cries and whispers could be heard in the most unlikely of places, near streams, in the forest, or even beneath the floorboards of a home. The appearance of the Myling varies greatly in the folklore, with some accounts depicting it as the infant when it was murdered, complete with a red mark around its neck. Others describe the Myling as a giant, growing larger and larger until it towers over the treetops. Some even claim it takes the form of a large black bird that attacks its mother, clawing at her face. However, Myling were not only sad children in the night. Some of them were rather vengeful and could bring both disaster and death in their path. Myling were known to try to reveal who their parents were, both mother and father, by singing songs of their terrible fate they had suffered. A Myling could also suddenly appear on its mother's wedding day. When the wedding dance had started, a ghastly voice could be heard underneath the floorboard saying, "Vessels are narrow, legs are long, and I want to dance once again." The child would then rise from the floor and take its mother to dance until she died of exhaustion. Less is known of the father's punishments, and Myling reflect the unequal blame women have received throughout the ages when it comes to childbirths and unplanned pregnancies. If it were sufficiently vengeful, a Myling might not only be after its own parents either. In some parts of Scandinavia, such children are said to be lurking around streams and brooks, where they call out to other children. If any child should answer the calling, the Myling would then drown the unwitting child so it could have a playmate forever. Myling could also appear as the less common Nattramar, children killed in the same way as Myling, but turned into ravens instead of ghosts. Nattramar not only show themselves during the nights, always flying west to east, and quite specifically, never closer to the ground than the height of an ox.
That's very specific.
Very specific. On its flight, it would utter creaking sounds, as if from an old wagon wheel.
So when you hear a child crying in the woods at night, or by your outhouse or underneath the floor planks of your house, make sure to have a name close in mind, and beware the streams and the brooks after nightfall. Tragically, the plight of the Myling is not confined to the past. Even today, there are instances of newborn babies being abandoned or murdered by their mothers, often due to the lingering stigma surrounding unmarried pregnancies. While societal attitudes have evolved, the haunting legacy of the Mainline serves as a sombering reminder are the consequences of such acts. I think we're good for the night.
Well,
We're at 9:18.
oh, well, okay.
We got the Inuit.
Yes. So we'll go ahead. We'll finish that. So we're going to finish out with, this is not so much of a ghost story, but want to be able to go ahead and kind of give a nod to the long-standing tradition of storytelling amongst the native people of the North. Like all traditional stories, Inuit traditional stories are both entertaining and instructive. The Inuit designated the powers of good and evil to deities living in a spirit world closely entwined with the starkly beautiful northern landscape. Inuit oral traditions were employed as the most important method of conveying and preserving ideas, augmented sometimes by small carvings that may have served as illustrations for events. These early tales were intrinsically linked to Inuit shamanism. Inuit traditional stories are usually short, dramatic forms dealing with the wonders of the world, the creation, the heavens, love, hunting, and sharing food, respect for elders, murder, death, and the mystery of afterlife. Inuit storytellers continue to remodel and create new traditional stories to pass down culture and morals in the modern era. These stories are rarely simple, usually abounding with behavioral codes that may only be fully understood by those living within that society. The stories reinforce a close relationship with all of nature, as well as the belief that animals have the magical power to hear and understand human words. For this reason, hunters in their camps, when singing or speaking of, say, like a walrus or a seal, may carefully refer to them as, say, maggots or lice, or call caribou lemmings, for example, thus confusing the animals that are necessary for their survival. Can't let the animals know that you're talking about them. A fundamental tenet of Inuit traditional stories is the belief in other worlds beneath the sea. Inside the earth and in the sky, where some gifted shamans have the power to journey in trances and in dreams, visiting places that ordinary mortals would only experience in the afterlife. Among the most famous Inuit traditional stories is the story of the sea goddess, known by various names including Sedna and Nuliuk. In the story, a young girl is cast into the ocean where she becomes the keeper of all the sea mammals. There is also the story of Lumek, which tells of an abused blind boy who finds refuge in the sea where he recovers his sight and ends his abuse. The story of Qivittoq, a major figure in the same sphere as Sedna, explains the abundance of fish and the absence of trees in the Arctic tundra, while the story of Qivittoq, I hope I'm right on that, Qivittoq, looks about right. Sorry if I'm butchering that.
There's probably a click in there.
Anyways, so tells of a young hunter's journey home after becoming lost on an ice floe. Supernatural beings accompany many Inuit traditional stories, including Mahaha, a demon that terrorizes the Arctic and tickles its victims to death. The Ijurat, they're shapeshifters that may change into any Arctic animal but may not disguise their red eyes. There's the Tikraqsuk, the shadow people who are rarely seen but often heard. The Qilub-Iluk, scaly human-like creatures that snatch children into the sea, and then the Inupasujuk, giants who capture humans, and the Tinuit, who are seen as simple-minded but extremely strong ancestors of the Inuit. These traditional stories represent a valuable intellectual possession that, if lost, has no way of returning. Fortunately, there are individuals amongst the native tribes that are working to maintain and curate these stories for future generations. Thanks to their efforts, we will look forward to hearing and reading these stories for many years to come.
Save those traditions.
Yes. And again, my sincere apologies if I butchered any of those Inuit names. It was not my intention. I mean, only utmost respect.
As I said, there's probably a click in there.
Probably.
But we do not speak the language, and so we apologize.
Yes. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Please.
We hope that you enjoyed our stories as we did a little traipse up through the Arctic tonight.
We hope you enjoyed watching you shrimp and sleep, and I'm sorry if I've been shocking you, my dear. 'Tis the shocky season.
It is staticky season. So let's see. What do we have coming up next?
We're going back to States.
Yes. So quick reminder, next is Paracon this coming Friday, Saturday. Just one last shout out for that. But then, starting February 10th, 2 weeks from today, we have Haunted Wisconsin, the land of beer and cheese.
Ooh, which I need to get to at some point.
Yes. It is so good.
Then on the 24th, we're going to hop on over to Wyoming.
One of the most sparsely populated states in the continental U.S.
Yes. I have not decided what we're doing for the 10th yet.
But February calendar's set.
Yes.
So.
And other things coming up after, we have a special Valentine's Day tour going on that Lee has curated for us and we'll be giving again. So definitely check that out. We have our next haunted dinner in March.
I think it's the first Friday.
Yes, I believe it is. Yes, the 7th. And we're going to do Irish Spirits. Also, we have our John Marshall tour on February 22nd at 7 o'clock. And of course, in March, we will be at Irish Festival Weekend and at GalaxyCon. We don't know about panels yet, but we do have a vendor booth there, so you will be able to catch us there definitely. So those are the big items that are happening in the next few months. Do you have to bathe yourself right now, ma'am?
Of course it does. It could be worse.
It could be worse.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. Any last minute questions?
Not questions. Alex sends condolences for the Bills.
Yeah.
All right. No more talk about that. And yes, we're looking forward to getting back around the States again too. So
it's been a while, so it's time to come back to them.
Yeah, and yes, we had to turn off the game just before it ended last night too, because Josh Allen was very, very sad to look at.
Yes, he looked like he was about to cry.
He probably did.
Yeah.
He has now lost to the Chiefs and Mahomes 4 times in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Now, who's counting, right?
That's okay. We now have the 9th free to watch a movie.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll go ahead. We'll stream all the ads on YouTube during the day and then watch a movie during the game, because
I will not be watching the game.
I have no interest in watching the game. So, anyways, we digress. Yes. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
And hope to see you back here in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, stay spooky, stay warm, stay safe out there, all that good stuff. Because we want to see you back here. And
I'll see you out on a tour.
yes. All right. Have a good night, y'all.
Night, y'all.